comes in about 254,000. Yeah. So the what is optional, interestingly, is the master word clock. We could actually dispel with the master word clock, and these other 4 units would run together and sound beautifully. And in fact, actually, even without the master word clock, the inherent clocking precision of the DACs by themselves is already better than an entire Vivaldi system with a master clock. It's that good. So the timing precision is already completely next level. But when you add the external master word clock, it just takes it up even further. But yes, one could, if they wanted to, save $38,000 off the nose, then you could operate the system sans master word clock, and that would work great. And then later on down the road, you can add that master word clock, and you're just going to get more performance. But I tell somebody, in fact, I was telling Paul a little bit earlier, be careful, because once you hear the master word clock, you can't unhear it. Because you're like, oh, now it's all there. Now I know what it sounds like, and I got to have that, and I got to keep that. But yeah, 254,000 as it's configured here. There are actually a couple of other additional options. So we have a Super Audio CD transport for those that are interested and still like to spin discs, and that's an important part of their music listening. We do have a Super Audio CD transport that will be coming out here in the next couple months. So that's pretty cool. And then on the back side of the core, it's really pretty cool. It has these expansion bays. And those expansion bays, we don't have a crystal ball. We wish we did. We don't know what necessarily the future holds, but we know that you look at a product like Vivaldi, which is pretty unbelievable, realizing that that product, which is recognized as state-of-the-art in the industry today as the best digital front end in the world, second only to this new guy that came out, that product was originally released in 2012. You talk about a product with staying power, that's unprecedented, and especially in a digital product where the technology evolves so rapidly. So we know a thing or two about ensuring that our products have upgradability. And so those expansion bays on the back side of the core, we don't know exactly what those are going to be in the future, but we want to ensure that the provisions are there for us to be able to have upgradability to potential new formats. As well as other things, like for instance, one of the things that we have currently working on that will be available actually next month is something called the digital input-output module. So you'll remember I mentioned that these units all connect up with a unique cord called the Actus, right? Well, what if you have, I don't know, if you have maybe you already have a CD transport that you want to be able to use in conjunction with your Varèse system. Or maybe you've got a music server or streamer or something that has conventional digital connections, right? Because of those conventional digital connections, there would be an incompatibility because these obviously use Actus. So that digital input-output module has traditional digital connections on the back to be able to allow for those products to work harmoniously with a Varèse system. So that's pretty cool. Not everybody needs that, and so it's an optional module. And in the future, I don't know. We'll see. But we definitely have a very good long history of being able to support a very long life of product upgrades and maintaining their pedigree at the very highest level through hardware, software upgrades. And I think that a lot of other companies, they like to preach about that and about the merits of that, and it all sounds great and well, but in a lot of ways, if you look at the history of dCS, you can see where we've proven that out. And the reason I think why we do it a lot better than maybe some of our other competitors out there is because we have the advantage of every bit of our technology, every bit from end to end is controlled and developed by dCS. So we're not constrained by somebody else's chip or somebody else's, whatever it may be, right? That the parameters are closed down. Instead, because we develop all of the hardware and all of the software, it allows us to be able to continually, ensure that we're getting the most out of that, right? So strangely as it sounds, I usually tell people that as exciting as it is the first day that you open up, like Christmas morning and set up your dCS system and you love it and it sounds amazing, I tell people, strangely, it's the worst day it's ever going to sound. It's only going to get better. It's only going to be improved through things like software upgrades, which we've never charged anybody for, right? And hardware upgrades as they present themselves. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Got something queued up?
Sure.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I died a week ago. There's nothing left. It's caught on video. The very last breath. 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 Eternal came in my mind, covering all the very last time, the very last time, the very last time, the very last time, the very last time. All this fuss over nothing, reinventing the wheel. All this searching for something that's not real. All this fuss over nothing, reinventing the wheel. All this searching for something that's not real.
Oh man, I saw several of your faces. You're like, oh, when as soon as it started going, da, 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 and they were like, dCS man, it's broken. It's not working right. It's skipping. Nah, it's in the track. But you thought you had me. No. Questions? How's it sounding, by the way?
Fabulous.
Well, that's good. Good. We didn't waste 6 or 7 years and lots of millions of sterling, to put this together. But I think it's pretty special. And one of the things I think as well is that's really exciting is a lot of folks when you hear a product like this and the technology that it brings to the to the forefront. It's also exciting to think, oh, well, I can't wait for this to trickle down into the rest of the line and to help inform other products, right? The reality is that the technology that has been innovated for the Varèse project, in many of which have actually already been incorporated into the rest of our line. So, for instance. All of our other digital to analog converters, the Bartok, the Rossini, and the Vivaldi, had a huge performance upgrade a couple of years ago called Apex. And the Apex was the latest iteration of the Ring DAC, which is kind of the core heart, if you will, of our technology for converting digital to analog. Well, the Apex iteration of the stereo Ring DAC was actually born and derived directly from what we had learned when we developed the output stage for the Varèse. Of course, we couldn't tell anybody that at the time, but that's exactly where it came from, was from the Varèse project. Similarly, our smallest and most affordable digital to analog converter called the Lena. The Lena is a really beautiful, incredible little tour de force of engineering. When you look at it, I was showing Paul this a little bit earlier. It utilizes a really incredible technology called flex rigid circuit board, which allows the circuit board, one single circuit board, instead of having to be chopped up and connected with ribbon cables, which degrade performance, instead, one single seamless circuit board that can actually be folded in unique ways. And there's a lot of advantages performance-wise that come from that technology. Well, the flex rigid circuit board technology was being developed for the Varèse. So inside of the monodacks and as well as the core, they utilize flex rigid circuit board technology, which allows for that tremendous performance, but also just that bottomless noise floor and precision, right? And we've already incorporated that and actually came to the market first with Lena, which came out before Varèse. But all of that was developed from this project. So it's exciting, and in many respects that so much of what we have in our existing lineup comes from the innovations of the Varèse project.
And what are your general price points? Like, what I listened to was around 13,000.
Yeah.
Then where do you tend to go from
Yeah.
there?
So the Lena, which is our smallest, most affordable digital to analog converter, it's a tremendous piece because it's not just a DAC. It's a streamer. It has a digital, a whole host of digital inputs on the backside. It's a preamplifier. You could literally, a simple, elegant setup like what we have over in the other room could be just a Lena connected to an amplifier and a pair of speakers, and you're done. And you've got a phenomenal high-end system, right? Something like that product starts well under $15,000. It's $13,650. And if you can find a way to put together a better sounding DAC, preamp, streamer combination for that kind of money, buy it, because I don't know that it exists. And that performance it has in spades. And then from there, you go up to a product like the Bar Talk, which comes in around $20,000 or so. And then we have associated master clocks, which can upgrade the performance of those products further still. And then you move into our next range, which is called Rossini. And the Rossini comes in typically between about $32,000, $33,000 and maybe $37,000 or so. And it has a whole host of other components such as super audio CD transports and so forth that can round it out if you desire. And then you move into the Vivaldi range, which is one step removed from the Varèse that you see here. And that's a multi-box system that comes in around, depending on how it's configured, anywhere from around 70 or 80,000 up to around 130,000. And then you move into the Varèse. So we've got you covered as far as high performance digital options, ranging from sub $15,000 all the way on upwards of over $250,000, 300 plus thousand. So, yeah. Other questions?
Let's hear some more demo.
Let's hear some more. Okay, great. Let's do it. Landon, fire it up.
Not a word of goodbye, not even a note. She gone with a man. the long black cold. Somebody seen him hanging around at the old dance hall on the outskirts of town. He looked into her eyes when she stopped him to ask if he wanted to dance. He had a face like a mask. Somebody said from the Bible he quoted, there was dust on the man in the long black coat. Preacher wasn't talking, there's a sermon he gave. He said every man's conscience is vile and depraved. You cannot depend on it to be your guide, and it's you who must keep it satisfied. It ain't easy to swallow, it sticks in the throat to give her heart to the man in a long black coat. There are no mistakes in life, some people say, it is true sometimes, you can see it that way. But people don't live or die, people just float. She went with the man in a long black coat. There's smoke on the water, it's up in there since June. Tree trunks uprooted in the high crescent moon. Feel the pulse and vibration and the rumbling fuzz. Somebody is out there beating on a dead horse. She never said nothing, there was nothing she wrote. She gone with the man in the long black coat.
Yeah, keep it going. Okay. It's better than anything I wanted, I would say. People don't want to hear from me, they want to hear that.
Fortunately, I didn't have anything queued up there.
What are any particular observations? I'm curious from the group as to what you're hearing and what you like. Anything in particular that you notice?
I do have a question about
Yes,
the room.
please.
When these were debuted, was this room treatment in that?
No, it was not.
That's a good question. Yeah.
Thank you.
It was not. No. So since then, the room has had some treatment. As you can see, the wall panels here, the absorber, and we've got this diffuser on the back. We've also added some base panels. But so the room is sounding better. We realized that there's still some things we could do to fix the room, but I'd say it's come quite a ways.
Yes, thank you. Make this Sonusfaber fan happy.
If you are the dealer, I'm out of the game. If you are the healer, means I'm broken and lame. If thine is the glory, then mine must be the shame. You want it darker, we kill the flame. Magnified, sanctified be thy holy name. Vilified that never came. You want it darker. Hey, nay, nay, nay. I'm ready, my lord. There's a lover in the story, but the story's still the same. There's a lullaby for suffering and a paradox to blame. But it's written in the scriptures and it's not some idle claim. You want it darker? We kill the flame. They're lining up the prisoners and the guards are taking aim. I struggled with some demons, they were middle class and tame. I didn't know I had permission to murder and to maim. You want it darker? Hey, nay, 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 nay. I'm ready, my lord. Magnified, sanctified be thy holy name. Vilified, crucified in the human frame. A million candles burning for the love that never came. You want it darker? We kill the flame. If you are the dealer, let me out of the game. If you are the healer, I'm broken and lame. If thine is the glory, mine must be the shame. You want it darker? Hey, nay, 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 nay. Hey, nay, 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 nay. I'm ready, my lord.
Question here.
Yeah.
We're listening to, what, a $1.25 million system here.
Sure. Plus or minus.
And 250 of that is the.
Is the Varèse.
In order to, you have a lot of other products in your lineup, okay, as you said, starting with the Luna.
Yep.
Am I gonna hear the same flavor if you hooked up a $20,000-$30,000 dCS streamer or whatever?
Yeah.
Through, those amplifiers and those speakers and subs?
It's a great question. So, I mean, no surprise, right? Cat's out of the bag. That there's no question that the performance threshold, this is the reference, right? And are the other ones going to be able to sound that good? No, but I mean, obviously there would be no merit to having this if it didn't, right?
Sound better.
But that being, yeah, it better, right? But that being said, to your point though, what's amazing is that somebody actually called me not long ago, and they were saying they were looking at some older great digital products, not from our brand but from a different brand, and they said this was the best in this particular day, this particular transport or whatever it may be. How would this compare to the same amount of money that I might spend on a new product, they were looking at, I think it was a bar talk, for about $20,000. I said, it's a really interesting question. The thing is that we're able to get more performance out of our models because of the technology innovations that come from this than we ever could at previous price points. I was telling another gentleman earlier that Lena, for instance, Lena is a $13,650 DAC. And when we first came out with that product, it's been a little over 2 years now. When I came out to visit dealers like LMC and others, and they got the first chance to hear it, it made sense, right, that you would appoint that product with an appropriately matched system, right? So you wouldn't necessarily pair it with these or these, right? But the reality is that their first time listening to it, I insisted on putting it on their reference system, whatever it was in the store, because I wanted them to appreciate just how good it is. And the reality is that we could not have achieved the performance of that product without the innovations from this at $13,650. Without those innovations, there's no way we would have been able to touch that performance for anything south of 50 grand. Let that sink in for a sec, right? So it's interesting, right? Because I mean, this gets don't let me get on a soapbox here, but I think it's interesting that some folks will be a little bit critical of the industry as a whole and say, "Gosh, it seems like stuff is getting more and more expensive. I mean, it's crazy. We got a digital to analog converter here that costs as much as a good house, right? And I'm considering this or any number of exotic cars, right? That's crazy, right? But the reality is, and so the criticism is that, oh my gosh, stuff is getting more and more expensive. Okay, but consider this for a second. There has never been a time that you can achieve better and higher performance at more affordable price points than right now. And it's because of projects and innovations from things like this. So yeah, something like Lena, absolutely. It has the bones and the DNA of the performance that you're hearing here. But yeah, at $13,650, it's crazy good. It's crazy good. And way better than it has any right to be. But it's because of cost no object, engineering innovations that come from when we go to our engineers and just say, blank check, push the envelope, break every barrier, make it the best. And that's when they're able to come up with things like this. But then all of that, we're able to incorporate into other projects and other designs. Maybe not as ambitious as this, but no less well executed, right? So yeah, our $20,000 DAC, our $13,650 DAC, and so on and so forth, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, they can't be beaten, at those price points. And we don't build anything, guys, by the way, to hit a price benchmark, right? So when we set out to build Varèse, for instance, it was never, it was never a discussion point of, okay, well, how much do we want this thing to be, right? Same thing actually even goes for a product like our most affordable offering, like Lena. We didn't set out to make a $15,000 DAC. We set out to look at that project and we said, okay, we want to make a very compact, elegant, high performance solution, in a single chassis that incorporates these technologies. And then what it costs is what it costs. And we're thankful that obviously it ends up being something that is south of $15,000. But the reality is that we never. I think that's kind of the tail leading the dog when you set out and say we want to make a product that hits this price, right? I think there's danger in doing that. Instead, I think you end up with a much more well executed design that doesn't have corners that are cut on when it is what it is, right? But man, that's a killer product for a really affordable price point. Yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question. But,
No, it does, absolutely.
yeah. Sorry for the soapbox.
Because you're
but-
talking about the trickle down effect from a company's top flight products, and how does it get into some real dollars that some of us can afford in that brand?
Yeah.
Because we counted 12 components.
And there's another thing that I'll say. I mentioned, the way that it's executed, right? Oh, guys, I can't even emphasize how important that is. The execution of a product is as important as the ambitions of the project to begin with. So for instance, to give you an example of what we're talking about, right, is that you can compare the build quality, the standards of testing, everything that goes into the components all the way on through before it finally gets boxed up and shipped out of our factory in Cambridge. And there is no difference, not one iota, in all of those standards of the way that we execute this product compared to the way we execute any of our other products in our range. So they're built to the same standards, right? So yeah, Alina, fits in your hand like this. But as far as the quality of the execution of the components, the standards with which it's held to, when it goes through everything from building to testing, is the same stringent standards as that bad boy. And I think that's important, right? And you see that in other great brands here as well. So whether you're looking at a pair of Wilson speakers that are, a pair of Tune Tots or a pair of the Wham Chronosonics, right? The quality of the fit and finish and the materials is no different. It's just smaller. It's less ambitious, right? And the same is true with how we execute our products. Yeah. Other questions? Should we listen to more of that, not me? I see. No, the head's nodding. Yeah, that's good. Cool. That's good. Let's fire it up.
Just make sure my volume is good.
Thank you. My pleasure. Good to see you as well.
Sorry, but I had to ring your doorbell so late. But there's something bothering me. I really am sorry, but it just couldn't wait. Is there someone else instead of me? Go ahead and lie to me and I will believe. You're not in love with him, and this fool can see that the rivers of your love flow uphill to me. Hey Laura, it's me. Sorry, but I had to ring your doorbell so late. But there's something bothering me. Really am sorry, but it just couldn't wait. With a healthy dose of make-believe, won't you lie to me and make me believe that you're in love with me, and this fool can see that the rivers of your love flow uphill to me. Hey Laura, it's me. Sorry, but I had to ring your doorbell so late. But there's something bothering me. All night long, I just couldn't wait. With a healthy dose of make-believe, go ahead and lie to me and make me believe.
To put our heads together for the next one, we're digging deep in our bag here. But this is something. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, but it's a saxophone in a large scale church. You can kind of feel the room around you, and I think that's one thing that dCS does so well, so well.
Oh, in fact, on that point, so one of the things that, and the way that we're set up here, I mean, we're just enjoying just letting the Varèse kind of wash over you with its performance. But one of the things that's really interesting by comparison, right, is that when you listen to, for instance, and you can do this, because thankfully here at LMC, I mean, they literally have every single one of our models on display, actively all the time here, which is fabulous. But when you listen to, for instance, a venue, the venue in the recording, right, on something like the Vivaldi, right, which is one step removed from this, but it's a big step, right, that the purity of the conversion, it's there and it sounds really good, and you can definitely appreciate the fidelity and the performance. But when you step into the Varèse, suddenly, in addition to that, because the noise floor has been dropped and the accuracy has even been further, increased, that suddenly now you hear the interaction of those pure notes in the space. Whether it's in the venue that they were recorded at or the recording space, you can hear, like for instance, there's a great piece that I'll play, for instance, if I'm doing an A-B versus the Vivaldi versus the Varèse, right? I'll play, Copeland, very familiar, everybody likes Fanfare of the Common Man. And when before the first note, they hear it, and they just go, oh my gosh, yeah, you can get a sense of that space in that Minnesota hall of what's going on. And as you hear those big kettle drums and how they reverberate and interact in that space, you can hear it so palpably real through the Varèse. Whereas by comparison, it sounds gushingly good on the Vivaldi, but some of that sense of space is a little more fuzzy by comparison. And so, yeah, I think that all of those little cues serve to allow you to kind of suspend your disbelief that much further and get into your music and get more invested emotionally into, the heart of the recording. But yeah, it's not just the notes, but the interaction of those notes in the space that they were recorded in, that this just picks up in a way that I've never heard before. Well said. See what I mean?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Isn't that wild?
That's a special one.
And though it's those little cues, right, that allow your, your ears and your brain to be able to, just, experience the music as opposed to listening to the music, right? I mean, you can listen to a track that you love again and again and again, whether it's in your car or on a pair of modest AirPods, right? But when you listen to it in this manner, it goes from listening to experiencing, right? And that's what we're trying to accomplish. Now, one of the advantages that we have, I guess, over a lot of other manufacturers is that because dCS didn't set out to become a high-end audio company, that wasn't our ambition. Back in the 80s when digital technology really nascent and coming about, right? We didn't say, hey, we want to be, this high-end digital audio company, and that's what we want to be. we couldn't have been further from it, actually. dCS got our start actually back doing digital radar technology for top secret projects for the military. There was a small group of very, very talented engineers that were recognized as being on the very bleeding edge of digital radar technology. And the Royal Military came to them and said, hey, we're building a next generation fighter, and we want a really, really high precision digital radar system to go with it. And that ultimately went into the FA-2 jump jet Sea Harrier. And interestingly enough, back during a lot of those like Yugoslav wars and so forth, where they were fighting alongside F-15s and F-16s and so forth, that it was no surprise that the Harriers were oftentimes the lead for determining where enemy radar or where enemy objects were out there, because their radar was so much vastly superior to our American counterparts. But all that technology ultimately went into the Blue Vixen digital radar that actually was shared with Lockheed Martin and others that went into the F-22 and the F-35. So pretty cool. But that digital radar technology, geez, how did we go from that to this? It's not as far removed as you might think. Digital radar really is actually the inverse of what we're doing here. You're taking analog signatures out in space, and then you're converting them to digital binary, and then feeding that through and display it on a glass screen for digital blips, right? We're doing the opposite of that when we're playing back music. We're taking ones and zeros and we're converting them back into an analog voltage that is amplified, right? And so when those engineers who had developed these cutting edge digital radar systems, they were also very passionate audiophiles, and they realized that what they had just created, if they flipped it around, would be the most accurate digital to analog converter technology. Now, why doesn't everybody use it? Well, it's really, really hard and really expensive to do it. It's a lot easier and a lot cheaper to use a chip, but or use a conventional ladder DAC, right? But the ring DAC technology was really, really challenging to work, and the ones and zeros, the maths, as they say over in Cambridge, were really, really dizzying and complex. But the result is something that is far more accurate. And we've been refining that technology out over the years, but even from the digital radar days, we then moved into recording. And so, nobody actually in the digital space has more claim to fame with more Grammy award-winning records and recording engineers that have Grammy awards for their mixing and mastering engineering than guys that are using dCS equipment on their front end. Guys like Bob Ludwig and others that were recording back in the day, they were using dCS equipment, right? And then from there, we ultimately, found ourselves in the 90s and realizing that these military projects are fun and well, but they're only profitable when you got wars going on. And so when those kind of dried up, when we started looking at, well, what do we want to be? Do we want to be do we want to be a pro audio company and continue that path, or do we want to do this high-end audio stuff? Because what had happened is we found that word got out that these incredible converters by this little company called Data Conversion Technology out of Cambridge, that guys were getting their hands on them because they sounded so good in their systems, and these utilitarian, very commercial-oriented products that were just built to the hilt and sounded amazing. Guys were getting their hands on them, and there was a demand in the market. And so we said, okay, well, if that's what we want to be, then let's do that. And so we then set out in the 90s. Our very first consumer design digital to analog converter was the Elgar. And yeah, it was a fantastic product and very well received. And then subsequent years down the road, now we find ourselves with Vivaldi and Varèse and Bartok and Lena and Rossini. But it all started back in the 80s when we were doing really cool stuff for the military that was top secret. And then, doing, digital recording and, in the pro space. But that's kind of how we found our way. But it didn't start out because we had ambitions to be a high-end audio company. It's kind of cool.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
What does dCS stand for?
Data conversion systems.
Systems.
Data conversion systems. Yeah.
How does the ring DAC work with DSD?
Yeah, oh, great question. So the great thing about that is that we were on the working project with Sony Philips when they were developing DSD as a format that could be encoded on disc, which would become Super Audio CD. And so the encoding technology that was necessary for that actually was developed by dCS. So we know a thing or two about DSD technology, and the great thing is in fact, inside of every dCS DAC, you have the ability to actually select from the various output options of either DSD, upsampling, or PCM. There's merits to both, and we wouldn't be so, I think, broad stroke brushing to say that one is superior to the other. There's benefits to either. And so that's really great. But yeah, absolutely. If you can play straight through, full support. In fact, this will go DSD 512, DSD times 8 on the Varèse system, and all of our other products support DSD as well. And then in addition to obviously PCM. But it's kind of, I think, refreshing that we approach digital formats, whether it be PCM and DSD or MQA or any number of different formats, we approach it very agnostically in that we don't want to dictate to you how you should listen to your music. We would rather provide a technology that thankfully is so versatile that it can wring out every ounce of performance that we hopefully can out of the way you like to listen to music. So whether it's DSD or any multiple factors of DSD, or whether it's PCM, high upsampled rates, or MQA or any number of things, we try and embrace those and make it sound the very best that we can. We really do truly aspire to kind of be just a window and not add any sort of color. Some people ask us, they're like, well, how would you describe your house sound? Nothing, honest, and that comes from our days of studio recording, right? We don't want to be in the way. We want it to sound as, and truly be an honest tool to the recording engineer so that, what they're recording is played back with the absolute utmost integrity. And I'll say, look, numbers aren't everything, as the saying goes, right? Ultimately, if somebody prefers the sound of another DAC versus mine, I would say, God bless you, my son, go buy that DAC. That's the ultimate trump card, is your subjective opinion. But what I will say is this: numbers aren't everything, but they are something. And when it comes to converting ones and zeros, linearity or accuracy matters, right? The more close you are in terms of accuracy of recording those ones and zeros back to voltage, the more faithful, right? The better shot you have of it sounding hopefully really, really good, right? And so when it comes to the digital conversion process, there's something that's referred to as the least significant bit, okay? The least significant bit is the last bit in the chain that gets converted. And the reason why it's called the least significant bit is that all of the bits prior to that, they have a compounding effect. And so the smallest amount of voltage is decoded from the last bit. And so it's the one that is the most susceptible to errors. Okay, it's the most difficult to get right. Well, you wouldn't probably be surprised to find that at the least significant bit, the hardest and most challenging one to get right, there is not another conversion technology in the world today that is more accurate at the least significant bit than a ring DAC by dCS. That's pretty cool. Now again, that's a number, that's a hard fact, it's just empirical data, and that certainly doesn't mean everything, but it does mean something. I think we're doing something right. Yeah.
I'm gonna play with staging here a little bit. The song is called The Three Trumpeteers. So you hear three trumpets. You won't hear them all all from the same position. You should go from right to middle to left as they kind of play through. You've got Nicholas Payton, Winston Marsalis in the middle, and one that is escaping me on the left. He's quite good. And you'll see them kind of jump through, and you should notice those things as they kind of sweep through the soundstage. But I'll let you guys kind of make that differentiation between yourselves. Playing along now. But the sense of holistic staging, I mean, when things are just completely ironed in space, and you're able to make discerning differences in where things are when they're happening quickly, is something that I think is so unbelievable through dCS. I mean, it sounds great through a lot of different gear, but I think from a lot of what everyone said,
I love the timbre of the different trumpets themselves, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you hear those slight variations in the brass. You know,
it's such a special one. It's very good.
it's really good. Other questions we have before we queue up another one?
Straight from the beginning. Let's go big. Let's go big. Go big and bad.
Every morning at the mine, you could see him arrive. He stood 6'6", weighed 245, kinda broad at the shoulder, narrow at the hip. And everybody knew you didn't give no lip to Big John. Big John, Big John, Big Bad John. Big John. Well, nobody seemed to know. John called home. He just drifted into town and stayed all alone. Didn't say much, kinda quiet and shy. And if he spoke at all, he just said hi to Big John. Whoa. Somebody said he came from New Orleans, where he got into a fight over a Cajun queen, and a crashing blow from a huge right hand sent a Louisiana fella to the promised land. Big John, come on. Big John, Big John, Big Bad
parking lot with a couple $1 million stereo system, guys.
Request means you're not allowed to blame
Requests.
us either. You're not allowed to blame us.
That's right.
Those are always the goal. I will co-sign this track though. I'm familiar with this one, so this is going to show off some of the immediacy and the snap of what the system has on top.
You smell something? You got that certain thing that can't quite be described. Copy your love in the world, it can't be denied. And when you walk into a room, the must be slipping all about this world. Incredible, you're still my girl. Sister, you know you got a friend in me. Sister, we're sharing the power of femininity. You brought my spirits up when everything was loud. Help me to heal my heart and continue to grow. And now I'm feeling so much better, like I can do anything I choose. But you like
Heard that song probably 1,100 times. I used it to set Wilson's up for 4 years, and I just can't get enough of it. I think it does a lot of what I expect a real hi-fi track to do, and really relay that snap dynamic in the mid bass. This is another one that does that for me. This is recorded live to tape at Electric Ladyland Studios, one of my favorite artists. But I think it does really well through digital systems, actually, and especially streaming dynamics.
Whenever it rains, feel this way. Little something to get me through this day. Girl, give me a little bit. Don't talk bad. Yeah, wanna be the good day. Yeah, yeah. Tell me what you need. Feel the breeze. Let go and land on my feet. Girl, you brushed up my back. Don't talk bad.
Any of the pieces of that live band. I mean, you can kind of just pick out who you want to focus on and really give them their own attention, which is one of the things that always drew me to stereo. This is a track I'd be remiss if I didn't play. I mean, we played a lot in the store, but I think it's warranted when you're listening to these big systems.
too, is bungee jump. And I've been bungee jumping, and I can say it's really not that different. That's pretty good. That's kind of what it feels like. It's an appropriate score.
That is a good one. We use that one quite a bit, but it doesn't get old. I mean, it just delivers absolute slam. Absolute, it's just so fun. So fun. First thing I heard through a truly high-end system when I started working here, and I'd love to share it with you.
now watch 'em roll away again. I'm gonna sit on the dock of the bed, watching the tide roll away. Sit on the dock of the bed, wasting time. Left my home in Georgia, headed for the Frisco Bay, 'cause I got nothing to live for, nothing's gonna come my way. I'm gonna sit on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Sit on the dock of the bay, wasting time. Looks like nothing's gonna change, no. Everything still remains the same. I can't do what 10 people tell me to do, so I guess I'll just remain the same. Sitting there resting my bones, this loneliness won't leave me alone. It's 2,000 miles around just to make this dock my home. I'm gonna sit on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Sit on the dock of the bay, wasting time. Now we whistle together, ready? Totally. That's it. Like sort of. We will work on that part. And yeah, no, but that was good. That was like a really good start. I'm gonna sit on the dock of the bay.
Oh, sorry. Came up the track here by request. Let's see if this is. get right. And you know, one of the earlier events that we did with Varèse, we had a gentleman who's a concert pianist, and it was really fascinating. He got really excited because he was able to listen, and of course, very, very well tuned ear, that he was able to very easily distinguish in a particular recording. Yes, he was playing a Steinway and so forth, and he could distinguish the type of piano based on the timbre and so forth. It was so easily distinguished. He was like, "That's amazing." He says, it's one thing to hear piano and it's like, oh yeah, that sounds like a proper upright grand piano versus a electronic. But it's another thing entirely to be able to hear it very clearly. Oh, that's a Boston versus that's a Steinway. He was really excited about it. But yeah, those kind of sorts of things.
Sounded like a pianist right here in the room.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna switch things up. This is a little different genre. This is Mavis Staples. Here, you probably like this one. This is kind of fun.
Quite a bit back.
I looked in the mirror. What did I see? A brand new image of the same old me. Oh, but now I wonder, why should I be surprised? I like the things about me. I like the things about me. I like the things about me. I like the things about me that I once despised. There was a time I wish my hair was fine, and I can remember when I wish my lips were thin. Oh, but now I wonder, why should I be surprised? I like the things about me. I like the things about me. I like the things about me. I like the things about me that I once despised. I like the things about me. I like the things about me. I like the things about me. I like the things about me that I once despised.
Kind of cool. It's great when you intentional distortion when it's melodic. It's amazing, but it's tricky to get right digital, and this just plays it back so easily. So here's another one that's kind of interesting. There's a lot of times, right, when you're playing live recordings, it's a mixed bag, right? A lot of times live recordings really just, it seems like that everything in the recording is emphasizing the wrong attributes of what you're trying to listen to, and you just prefer a studio recording in many cases. But and most of the time, we typically make excuses for live recordings and say, oh, it's in the recording, right? And sometimes that's true, but I would be willing to say that there's a lot of times that what you're hearing is actually just a lack of integrity in the reproduction. And this is a good example of that. This is actually a Sarah Bareilles track. It was recorded live, and this is a fun track. And I wouldn't necessarily say that this is the most exceptional recording, but played back through exceptional equipment, man, it's a fantastic experience. So this is Goodbye Yellowbick Road, her version of it. This is Sarah Bareilles live recording. Let's see what you guys think of this. This is pretty cool.
should have stayed on the phone. Should have listened to my old man. No, you can't hold me forever. I didn't sign up with you. I'm not a present for your friends to open. This boy's too young to be singing the blues. So goodbye, yellow brick road, where the dogs of society howl. You can't plant me in your penthouse. I'm going back to my plow, back to the howling old owl in the woods, hunting the horny-back toad. Oh, I finally decided my future lies beyond the yellow brick road. So what do you think you'll do then? What they shoot down your plane and take you a couple of vodka and tonics, get you on your feet again. Maybe you'll get a replacement. There's plenty like me to be found. Mongrels who ain't got a penny, sniffing for tidbits like you on the ground. So goodbye, yellow brick road, where the dogs of society howl. Can't plant me in your penthouse. I'm going back to my plow, back to the howling old owl in the woods, hunting the horny-back toad. Oh, I finally decided my future lies beyond the yellow brick Goodbye, yellow brick road, where the dogs of society howl. You can't plant me in your penthouse. I'm going back to my plow, back to the howling old owl in the woods, hunting the horny-back toad. Oh, I finally decided my future lies. I finally decided my future lies. I finally decided my future lies beyond the yellow brick Thank you so much, everyone. Peace and love. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Pretty cool, right? Nothing special, not an audio file recording, but something that becomes really listenable. You got a great system that can play it back. Yeah. Anyway, thanks guys. You got something cool? You got something.